Hi, welcome to Redbear Reviews with your host Redbear. Today we're going to be taking a look at Reef Protocol. Now, Reef Protocol is an interesting project. It's been around for a little bit here, and it's known as a automated market maker. Now, an automated market maker is basically a liquidity provider for the DeFi space. So think of a coin that provides coins to people looking to buy and sell coins. So it's usually handled by an exchange, but since DeFi is decentralized, it needs somebody to handle what the exchange would normally handle. And as a result, it provides fee structures for people providing this liquidity to the market, and you can create passive income streams using this kind of technology. Now, Reef's advantage over other automated market makers, because it is a full space, is its ability to access many other chains. So how most automated market makers work is that they're kind of tied into one space. They're either on Binance Smart Chain and they provide liquidity to the Binance Smart Chain, or they're on Ethereum and they provide liquidity to the Ethereum chain. But how Reef actually bridges this gap is that since it's built on native Polkadot infrastructure, and Polkadot is intended to be a one hub that can interact with every other blockchain, it's designed to be able to work on Ethereum virtual machine, which is the Ethereum chain. It also is reverse compatible, so anything that's on the Ethereum chain can actually be imported onto the Reef mainnet. Reef is running its own mainnet. It's going to be integrated more closely into Polkadot in the coming here soon, but currently it doesn't have a parachain, so it's not parachain integrated, I believe. And as a result, once Polkadot is more live, Reef is going to be more live as well. It's going to be able to interact with more chains. It's going to be able to provide liquidity to more swaps, and it's going to grow in value as a result of this. Now, Reef also, because the DeFi space is so complicated, Reef is taking steps to actually create a user experience as well for the person who's utilizing Reef. Now, they've done this through a few options here. I'll show you. So this is the Reef Swap. It's a very stripped down, like basic experience currently, but they'll be adding features to this as we go along. So currently the features they have available to you are providing liquidity, so you can provide liquidity in the form of ETH and Reef or USDT and Reef. Now, this isn't limited exclusively to their entire offering of LP tokens. You can get LP tokens staked on Pancake Swap, so you can do Reef, Cake, token pairs. You can do other token pairs as well on Pancake Swap, as well as on Uniswap. This is just what they offer through their own swap here on Reef chain. But then there's also Reef bonds, which these things were offered earlier. They're no longer offered. This is a way to get basically lock liquidity lock value into the market. But this is really right here what is their current real value adder here. So this is the basket setup. This is how you can idiot-proof basically DeFi liquidity providing into a very easy one-stop shop. So how this works is you basically select your risk level, and then you can actually customize your basket too if you have an option that you particularly want to get into here, and you can customize and add what you want to stake into. It's a pretty easy setup here. You just select the pool, you add it to your list, and then you just select the amount you want to put in there of the total composition of your investment, and then from there you just hit invest, and it just handles it all for you. So it's way easier than going in and actually having to instill these smart contracts yourself. You just hit one button, charges you a base rate, and you just invest. And then the disinvesting is the same way. And there's a minimum investment of 1 ETH, but for large investors who don't want to handle very complicated portfolios, this can actually handle this all on your own end. It works kind of like a brokerage. You just like a financial planner brokerage, except it's handled by you, and you just really can commit a lot of funds here, a very complicated basket, without having to manage each individual listing. It's a very streamlined process. So they also have a card, the Reef card. It's your simple, you put X amount of Reef on here. It converts it to USD when you need to actually check out. You get cash back. 8% cash back is pretty good. As long as you're filling it up, you're not really losing much anyway. So it's just a good investment. Good way to capitalize on your investment and get some cash back if you want it. These things, they don't really add to the project overall in terms of, because a lot of coins have this, but it's just a nice way of just earning a little bit extra if you're spending money already. Now that we've researched the how-tos of the DeFi space, we're going to look a little bit more into the tokenomics and the token structure. So how Reef operates is that since it's built on Polkadot, it can have access to these other smart chains here right now. And and Polkadot flushes itself out, you're going to have access to more and more as well. So currently we have Avalanche, Polkadot obviously, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and Cosmos as possible avenues for providing liquidity. As time goes on, those will increase as well. Now, we have liquidity bridges, which is one of the ways that Reef actually swaps money around. So that's their main offering. They provide liquidity to the Ethereum network as well as the Binance network. And as time goes on, other networks are going to get more flushed out as well. It's just that they don't have a lot of liquidity currently in those networks comparatively. Like Ethereum is like almost 200 billion towards the total market cap. So there's a lot more value locked into it, a lot more opportunities to provide liquidity. As Avalanche and Cosmos get more fleshed out, you're going to have more opportunities to provide liquidity to them as well. Now, something to be aware of here, staking. So a lot of people are interested in staking. If they're not really interested in liquidity providing, they may be interested in staking. So staking, how it works is you provide your tokens on the Reef 20 mainnet. So you have to transfer your tokens if they're in Ethereum into Reef 20, and you have to do that through the Clever wallet. So Clever is a wallet that is currently supporting node delegation. So node delegation is another term for staking on proof of stake consensus protocols. And I know that's a lot to process, but I'll try to break it down here. So how a network like Reef operates, since it's proof of stake, is they have a series of validator nodes. Now each node is basically competing for your nomination. Your nomination is your stake. So if you're trying to commit, a few thousand Reef into a node, they want that because that basically validates their node, so they become an active node. So that means they'll be able to get delegated Reef by the network, and as a result, they'll distribute some of that Reef to you. Now, there's a fee structure obviously involved, so each node has its own fee structure, and this keeps the environment competitive, so the people who offer good service and lower costs get pushed to the front, and they become the majority nodes, where the nodes that produce worse service, in fact, like if they don't have significant uptime, if they're constantly on and off, person's not really monitoring the network, that can actually cause slowdowns to the network, and as a result, people don't get as much stake because they're not operating concurrently with the network. So this basically incentivizes networks to have a healthy network as opposed to a sick network where people aren't really taking their validator nodes management seriously. Now, that's also a good reason. So for instance, if someone's offering like zero fees and they have a lot of downtime, you can check this in the history of the network. They can actually get slashed by the network itself. So if you have your tokens delegated to this node, you can get reduced tokens in this node itself. So that there's not completely no risk with this. So make sure that when you're selecting your node, that you're selecting a node that actually has a good history. This shouldn't be too hard to do. I mean, there's lots of professional validator node running companies out there nowadays running a lot of different nodes for a lot of different networks. So there should be some professional looking ones. You might have to pay a little bit more in fees, but it'll be worth it because you'll be gaining your own staking back from the network, as well as having a good company to work with. Now, one of the interesting things about Reef protocol over, say, something like XLM. So XLM or Ethereum or any of these other kind of older projects, as a result of being older, their technology is a little bit less advanced than, say, something like Reef, which just launched mainnet this year. As a result, Reef doesn't have to hard fork every single time it wants to do a major update. Reef can literally have its validator nodes vote on an update, and that update can be implemented without actually having to redistribute tokens. That's what hard fork is, for those who aren't aware. They take the tokens, they basically take a snapshot of all the wallets that hold them, they reissue new tokens, and then they invalidate the old tokens. The old tokens are still in your wallet, they just don't have any value because the network has now officially agreed to go to the new tokens. So this causes trade breakdowns. For instance, they have to, during the snapshot period, they have to freeze all of the transactions on the network so that they can then reissue them without having to worry about something like a double pay system going through. If maybe it's in transit and you might get 2 on the snapshot. So that's how they oftentimes implement these hard forks. Reef doesn't have to do this because this is a newer token. They've accounted for this, and they've made it so that the validator nodes can handle this through the governance system. Now, one more thing to note about Reef protocol is that Reef protocol does not have a cap on its token supply. The token supply is managed by the validator network. This is part of being self-governed. So they can either issue more tokens and then distribute them through their nodes, or reduce the amount that is distributed by community consensus. Now, you have to understand that you might think that, oh, they're just going to vote themselves a bunch of tokens, right? Well, maybe at first, but over time, they're going to be interested in protecting the value of the coin just as much as you, because they're going to be majority holders of these tokens. This is a way to basically create majority holders in the people who are actually maintaining the network. This creates more structure because people are invested. They're more likely to want this network to be stable, so they'll be less likely to actually invest in creating a protocol that is just inflationary only. There is a component to this that's supposed to be deflationary. That's the fee burn, which is also handled by the validators, so they can set how much is burned per transaction. Now, something to note is that the fee burn only applies to Reef 20 mainnet tokens. So Reef 20 is not going to be the only way that Reef is traded, because there's ERC20, Reef 20, there's Reef 20, there's BEP20, which is the Binance Smart Chain. So the Reef 20 is the only one that actually has this fee burn on it, and this is basically only if you're going to be validating the network itself. Are you going to be using Reef 20 currently? So this is a way to basically tax people who are staking and unstaking their tokens from the validator network. So in conclusion, DeFi is going to actually be revolutionized by Reef, in my opinion, because the main drawback currently of DeFi is that it's inaccessible for the majority of the market due to this complexity issue. Now, Reef is trying to simplify this, make it easy for people, everyday users, to commit their funds to these liquidity pools, to generate passive income, to basically invest in DeFi. And that's sorely lacking in this space. Right now, it's kind of a nerd space. It's only available to those who are extremely tech-oriented or very techy in general. And you're not going to get mass adoption through that kind of community. You're going to only get mass adoption when the average person, the mom and pop, can actually just one-click their way to investment. And that's what Reef is attempting to do. And not only do they have an advantage in that field, they also have an advantage in being on Polkadot and being able to access the majority of other chains that have value locked in. So these two aspects are going to be the 1-2 punch of creating a dominant amalgamated market maker. And that's really all there is to it. If you're looking for a easy, simple, secure, and convenient portal to the DeFi space, look no further than Reef. So take that as you may. This is not financial advice, but I'm looking forward to a bright future for Reef, and I think it will do well on the long run.